Hello everyone. Today we're going to be making a tutorial on how to create an object inside of Blender and import it inside of Trackmania 2020. So the first thing we're going to need to do is download a few things. I've put some links in the description. Whoops, didn't want to click on that. And some files. So we need to download Blender first. So go ahead and do that. Then the next thing we're going to need to download is the NADEO importer. So go to that link and open it up. And click download and install, and you'll see the importer here and the sample zip. This little section shows you where to put your importer, and this little section shows you where to put your samples. So you definitely want to go ahead and do that. Then after you've gone and done that, the next program we need to download is GIMP. These are all free software programs, so I could get everybody to follow along. So get that up and running. Then the next one is a GIMP add-on. Um, just in case GIMP doesn't come with the format of DDS, which is what we need to save our textures into later on. This is an add-on that will let GIMP do that. So I'll just quickly show you how to put the add-on on. So go into your documents, this PC, local disk C, program files, find GIMP. So it's in GIMP, library, GIMP 2.0, and plugins. So this is where all the plugins will be. And you can see this is where you will put your zip folder, the add-on, and extract it here. And it will show up somewhere around here. Yep, so there it is. So now you should be able to save your textures in DDS. Okay, so we'll go back to our browser, and the next program we need to download is CRAZYBUMP. And CRAZYBUMP lets you grab any image of your choosing and then create a height map from that image. So then it can make your image not look so flat. You can give it a bit more 3D-ish effect and a bit more lighting effects and stuff like that, which we can go through a little bit later. Very handy. So go ahead and download this one. And then we have good old OpenPlanet. So if you haven't got OpenPlanet already, definitely check this one out. So this will let you create bigger maps sizes inside the game. Plus there's like a bunch of plugins here, like you can get a plugin so you can see the author times on every map, checkpoint counters, a bunch of other weird things. So just have a look. So get that one as well. So now we've got all of these, we can do some fun stuff. So we'll just go in and open up our Blender, which I accidentally clicked before. And you'll get to this screen, just click General. And now it should look something like this. So before we start, we don't really need the light or the camera at all for this tutorial. So I'm just going to click this light and then shift click this camera, right click and delete them. Don't need them. All right, so the next thing is we have this box. I'll talk about this little box for a little bit. So the default box comes in as a 2 meter by 2 meter cube. Okay. And over here is our scale and our transform attributes. So if I wanted to say like a 32-meter box, and I went and did this and put them all to 32, this would not be 32 meters. This would be a 64-meter box. So it's doubling the value of my scale over here. So if you just want to fix this to make it match up, just click this little delta transform tab down, go into its scale, click the first one and drag down all three, and you can just type in 0.5. And now you'll get a 32-meter box, and it will match up with this over here. All right, beautiful. So now we've got this. The next thing we're going to go over is just a couple of shortcuts while we're here. So the tab key on your keyboard gets you in and out of edit mode and object mode. And inside of edit mode is where you can select your faces and edges and your vertices. We're in vertice mode at the moment. And up here where my mouse is, these three little tabs are the corresponding things. So if you go to edges mode, faces mode, and you can press 1, 2, and 3 on your keyboard to cycle through those. Okay, very handy to keep in mind. We'll be using them a lot. So once we know that, we'll go back into tab. So go into object mode, and another couple of shortcuts. So if you hold scroll, I think it is, just to rotate around. I'm not quite sure what the panning one is. I think it's something like scroll, click, shift, and move, because I've set mine up to a different one. Just check your shortcuts. It should be there real quick. So you want to learn how to pan. And but these are the ones I really want to show you. If you press G on the keyboard, you can see it's moving our object around. You press the right click on your mouse, it'll just return it to back to where it was. R on your keyboard is the same thing for rotate. So we just press right click to get out of that. And now S on your keyboard is scale. These three are going to be used a lot, so very handy to keep in mind. I'm just going to right click out of that. So press G again, and you can see it's in our move tool. Now, if you hold your scroll click, you can see this little white line that showed up. And every time it gets near one of these axes, it snaps our object to it. Okay, so now it's snapped to the X, it's snapped to the Y, and snapped to the C. So if I let go of my scroll click on one of these axes, it'll stay on it. And then if you hold Control now and move it, it'll snap to the increments of the grid. All right, very useful. So keep this one in mind. Just going to right click to not do anything. So we've gone over the quick shortcuts that we need. I actually do not want a 32-meter box, but I want to scale this Z down, which is our up and down, to 2 meters. So now we'll get this shape, and you'll see that this is the same size as the platform we have inside of Trackmania. And all the squarish objects inside of Trackmania are 32 by 32 meters. Okay, so the next thing we want to go and do is we want to change this grid size so it's easier to work with and matches up with the grid inside of Trackmania and our object here. So if you follow my mouse over to this little white icon, you'll see this tab that says units. Go into here, unit system, and change this metric to none. Okay, and follow our mouse up to this little drop down tab, and we are going to change our subdivisions to 16. So this is half the size. Okay, you can already see our box is in line with the grid. If I change that to 32, this would be perfectly sized, but I like to have it at 16 so I can see the halfway points of my box. Okay, so we've got it all set up and we are ready to start building things for Trackmania. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we know where our orientation is. So we'd like to know where we are. So this is the front view. And the way I know that is you see this little gizmo up here. This little green one shows the front view, and the green one with the little Y in it is the back view. So this is important because if you're just working around and you're upside down, you're doing this and you don't know where you are, and you start throwing objects in your scene, later on you're going to be having complications and you're going to be rotating things and negative 90 degrees and then 90 degrees, and then you're going to be wondering why things are doing weird stuff. It's because you're probably upside down and not sure where you are sometimes. So it's very handy to just have a good idea of where you are. All right, beautiful. So this is the front view. I just want to press our G and move this along the Y-axis and just snap it there. So it's just in line with our red line there. All right, so we've got our first object. The next thing that we need to do to get this object ready is Trackmania asks for 2 UV layers. So we're going to go and set those up. You follow our mouse over to this little green icon that says Object Data Properties and click that. And you'll see this is where our UV layers will be. So this is our drop-down menu. This is the default UV layer. So we're going to go up here where it says Shading. Okay, and click this tab. And I'll just show you while we're in here. See this object? Say if you accidentally go out of view and it's in whoop whoop, just press the delete key on your numpad and it will find it for you and center it back up. Okay, so this is the default material that it comes with. If it didn't come with the default material, just press new for new material and it will give you one. We're not going to change any of these settings. I'm just going to leave that there for now. So I would have given you default textures inside of the files that I've added. Just go and find those and open that folder. And just click this little icon over here so it shows all the icons. Okay, I'm just going to go and choose one of the square images from the game so I can easily UV map my image to this object and get a good idea. Grab this color and add it to base color. Okay, so you should get this. You can see we've got the color that we want, but the picture's not aligned at all. So this is what UV mapping is. And we're going to go now and do that. So go up here into the UV editing tab. and you should get this split screen sort of thing. I'm just going to drag this all the way over because I don't need that much space. Press delete key, click the object, and press delete key so I can get an idea. Zoom back out. All right, so now I go into object mode, tab into object mode, show what we're doing. Okay, so actually, sorry about that. Just tab back into your edit mode, and this is where we're going to see our UV map show up. So if I press A on my keyboard, it'll highlight everything. And now this is all the faces, okay? So we're going to want to go and align this. So the first thing we need to do is just click our top face. You press U on your keyboard, and we're going to use, there's a bunch of unwrapping methods here, but we'll go and use this Smart UV one for now. And then just go scale to bounds and press OK. And you can see now that this image has, let me see what's going on here. If you can't see image, just change over here to your other viewport shading menu where my mouse is, so you can see the texture. And now you can see that it's aligned our image. And the cool thing about Blender is now that we've done that, if I go to the bottom face and click it and press U, you can see how it's already put my mouse in the right spot. So I could press enter now, and it's already got the same settings, and I could press enter again, and you can see it's aligned my picture. Because our objects are pretty much a square object, UV mapping is very easy. So we're just going to go ahead and quickly do that to all the sides. Just click a face, press U, enter, enter. U, enter, enter. Whoop, what did I do then? U, enter, enter. U, enter, enter. U, enter, enter. All right, so you can see now all our images are scaled to the right proportions that we want. All right, now if I go back to our front view so I know where I am, maybe I want this to face the other way, so I can click this top face and then click and drag over here, press R on your keyboard, and then Control, and you can just snap it to increments as you rotate and face it whatever way you want. In this case, I'll just face it this way. You can go ahead and do that with the sides and all the other ones if you need to. In this case, we don't need to. It's pretty much good. All right, so our first UV map is done, but Blender needs two. So we're going to go ahead and create a new one. Now, this one's going to be our light map. And so with our two UV layers, Trackmania needs these to be labeled something specific. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The first one needs to be labeled base material. And make sure you've got the spelling correct and the capitals in the right place. And we're going to do the same thing with this one and call this one light map. All right. So the next very important thing we need to understand is that the base material and the light map might look similar, but the light map has to be different in this way, and I'm going to show you. So in the base material, you can see how our UV map, it all looks perfectly fine. But over here in our UV layer section, I click this top face and I just drag this over, snap it over to here, click say whatever this side face, just for an example, snap it over to here, and then go over here and select all. You can see that all of these faces were all just sitting on top of each other, right? Which didn't affect the image at all, like it was all fine, and that's fine inside of base material. It's allowed to overlap. But with light maps, it's very important that these faces are not overlapping in the UV editor. Okay, they need to have all their own separate space. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. I'm going to undo a couple of times to get this back on top of each other. Oop, go again. Yep. So if I go into my light map, I need to change this. So I'm going to click this top face, all right, and then select all. So this is, we've got our top face selected first, and then we selected all. I'm going to press U on my keyboard, follow active quads, go to even, and press OK. And you can see it's given us even UV mapping, and it's separated them, and they're not overlapping anymore. The image hasn't changed in any way. So I can go ahead and say delete my base material one if I want. I don't have to. This is going to be perfectly fine for base material. It just wouldn't work for the light map. So I'm just going to delete this and add a new one and call it base map. Base material, I mean. Beautiful. So we have two that are exactly the same, and this is going to work. All right, image hasn't changed. Hopefully fine. So our UV layers are done. The next thing that we need to do is set up our material, which is very easy. This is this little red icon. This is our material settings. So we just need to change this name here to capital A. Okay, and there's a reason why we're changing it to capital A. Later on, you can change this to any name you like, but for now, make sure you do this so we can do everything properly, and I'll show you why later. So now our object is done. It is ready to export and do the next steps. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Go to File, go to Export, and export it as an FBX. Choose FBX, and we are just going to choose a place. In my case, I'm just going to throw it on the desktop. I recommend you make a folder called TM something or whatever. I'm going to call this object base, doesn't really matter, and throw it on the desktop. Get out of my Blender for a second, and I'll just click my object to show that here it is. All right, so the next thing we need to do is go into our documents and Trackmania. And if you should have downloaded the NADEO stuff by now, and that would have set up this folder called work. So we'll just go into the work folder, the items, samples, static objects, and then we need all these, but mesh, and this is where the samples objects are. So you can click, say, this and have a look. And these are the dot mesh parameters. So these are the settings that we're going to be playing with the most. So just note, when importing an object inside of Trackmania, it needs these three things. It needs a dot item XML, and then it also needs just your object from Blender, and then it needs a dot mesh parameter XML. Okay, so for our situation here, we're just going to go ahead and copy our object and paste it into where all their objects are. Now we've got our object. We're just going to go and steal the settings off this slope base one for now. So I'll just go and copy this and paste it in here and change the name to the name that we have. So I'll just change this name to base. Okay, so if I click this mesh parameter, you can see it has on the top line, we're never going to change this top line. It's always going to say stadium, and we're always going to leave it at static. So just forget about it. And we're going to pretty much be always playing with this, the lines in between these two materials sections. So for now, we only have the one material, so we only have the one line. Later on, when you've got multiple materials for an object, you'll just keep on adding more of these lines in. But for now, we'll leave it at one. And it's saying our material link equals platform tech. So this is the name of one of the materials inside the game that you are very familiar with driving on. And the name of the material equals A, right? So this is why I got you to name the material A inside of Blender, because it needs to match up with the mesh parameters. Okay, so you could have changed your material name to anything you like roads or dirt or whatever, but you had to make sure in your mesh parameter, in this little section between these two little parentheses things, that you also have the same exact name spelt the same way, dirt or roads or whatever. Okay, so I'll just get out of this quickly. We don't need to worry about that anymore. We'll just go into the static objects. We'll go back a tree, one in the tree. I'm going to do the same thing with the dot item. So we'll just steal the slope base, copy, paste, and change the name to the one we have. So we'll just go and delete all this unnecessary stuff. Base dot item. So that's set up. So all of these here all have the same thing. So if I click on this, they're all going to look exactly identical to what's written here. But you can change things inside of this too. That's why I do recommend you read more of that NADEO importer site to get a little bit more familiar with things if you want to get more advanced on stuff. But for now, we're not going to worry. We're just going to leave it blank like the rest of these samples. I'm just going to tab out of that. As long as you have a dot item with the same name with your object, it'll be fine. But while I'm here, I'll just quickly show you what I mean. So in a dot item, you have these kind of settings. So you can tell it that it's a waypoint, like a checkpoint or a finish line, etc. And then you've got like you can change your pivot points of your object. So maybe you want the pivot point to be in the middle of your object, or you want a pivot point on the corner of your object. This is like the grid snapping. So you can how much do you want your object to snap by when you put it in the game? You want it to snap it up by 2 meters every vertical step, or and then every 8 meters in the horizontal steps. You can do all this stuff. This is all in the importer page, okay? But we're not going to worry about any of that. And the same with .mesh parameters. We can get a little bit more complex in there too. So you could say change this material to say custom bricks, and then you could change this color to whatever you want. So you can have your custom bricks a different color, and then you could have your physics ID, whatever you choose. You could make it ice. You've got icy yellow custom bricks, and you've got your name, which is A in this case, and the game player ID, which is like the same thing as like adding in a material that already has like a surface attached to it. You can add in like grass, and it'll have grass physics already applied. Yeah, so just read the files. You can get a bit more familiar later on. I'm going to get you into it nice and quickly. So get out of that, and we'll get out of this. And so now that we'll go back to where we were working in, we've got our dot item, we have our dot mesh param, and we have our object all with the same name. So the last step we need to do to get this inside the game is go into where your Trackmania application is, where you put your OpenPlanet and stuff like that. And we're going to have to shift and right click inside of this folder, and it will open up. You'll see where it says open PowerShell window here. If I didn't shift right click and just right clicked, that little open PowerShell is not there, you see. So I can shift right click, open up PowerShell window. And once this is open, go back to the browser, and hopefully we've still got the importer up. And we'll go down to this next option, how to import an item. Like I said, you can give all this stuff a read later on, but we're going to skip down to this section. Open a command line window in Trackmania, which is what we just did. And now we're just going to copy this first one. So we're just pretty much setting up, like letting the directories talk to each other so they know where things are, kind of thing. So click on here. Oops, sorry, I've stuffed that one up. Just go back if that happens and recopy it. Click once, right click in here, and it should just appear. Press enter. And then go and copy this one, and then right click. We want to change the name of this one because it's choosing the item out of that folder now. So we want to change it to the one that we made called base, and press enter. And you can see that it's created our object. That's what this is saying. Now while we're here, say later on you might create 20 new objects at once. Like say you made 20 ramps and you want to put them all in at the same time. So you're like 20 ramps, you got 20 objects, and then you've got 20 dot mesh parameters set up, and you got your 20 dot items set up, and you don't want to go in here and do this one by one. Then you would go in and use this command here or whatever instead of the one we just used then, and then it will find that folder and just go in and do all 20 at once. So I recommend that you copy these, save them to a text file somewhere because you'll be using them a lot. Okay, so go ahead and do that. So once you've done that, we can get out of our open PowerShell thing and open up Trackmania. Okay, so go ahead and open up Trackmania, which I've already got open. And go into Create, Map Editor, create a new map, mouse and keyboard, Advanced, and I'm just going to choose Sunrise. So just while I'm waiting for this to load for a bit. So once we've got this, we will mod the object so I can show you how to get your own image onto your object and override the materials inside the game. So now in the editor, go down to here, it's where the item mode is, custom. This is where your samples are, static objects, and you can see this is where all the samples are for you to look at. Okay, they're really scaled down small, the samples, but check them out anyway. Some of my ones, but we'll go down and find ours to base. there it is. And you can see there's our object. I'm just going to go to item mode, free mode, scroll up a little bit and scroll in. And I'm just going to click it so we can have a look. And you can see that in our game, but we're going to go in and grab one of theirs just to show you that we also have the same dimensions as the game. Right. See how it's all mapping around it, right? No overlap, but the game has that um, weird stripe thing that's attached. But anyway, you can see it's the same size, it's got the same material, and our objects inside the game. Beautiful. So I'm just gonna get out of this quickly and get into the modding stage. So now that we've done that, we can open up our GIMP program and go ahead and choose an image of your choice for this. Any image will work. So just go ahead and pick one. I'm just going to drag this image into here and it will come up with this, offering to convert the image to the color profile of the program, but I'm just going to keep my settings. And then we've got our image. If you look up the top, it'll show you the pixels of the image. So it's 1506 by 1280. Trackmania would rather have a perfect square image. So I'd rather it be like in 512 pixels by 512 pixels, or 1024 by 1024, 2048, etc. So this image is close to 1024 already. So scaling it's not going to destroy it too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and scale this down to the preferred size. I'm going to scale my image. I'm going to unlink this so I can do these separately and change it to 1024 and then 1024. Beautiful. Hit scale. And you can see I've got my perfect square image. It's in 1024 by 1024, like up here. Well, now all we need to do is save it. So I'm going to go into export as, not save as, export as, and select file type down here and go down and find DDS. I'm going to save this file to the desktop. Okay, choose wherever you like. Now this is the most important part of the program while we have it. So here is where it says compression. And with like a normal image, like your main image, it's not going to be a light map or like a 3D-ish map. It's just going to be your main image. This is going to be a BC1. Okay, and in the files that I've added to the video for you guys, there's a text there. So I'm going to export that as BC1. Go ahead and do that. And I'll just quickly open up that text. So you'll see this that I've added, and this is for car skinning. So, but it also transfers over. So what we just did there was BC1, which is base color, which is pretty much your base image. We're going to be saving our image to an underscore D later on, which is pretty much the same thing. So, and then next we're going to be making a rough map, and then we're going to be making a normal map. And you can see they're going to be under BC5. And this is why we needed GIMP, just for these compressions. All right, so next we're going to grab our CRAZYBUMP and open that up. So we're going to find that, type it in. We're going to click this button to begin. Open photograph from file. Find the file that we just made and open it. And you should get these two choices. It doesn't really matter which choice you choose. Just choose the one you like more, really. I'm going to choose this one that seems a little bit more dinted out. So I'm going to choose this. You can see it opens up this cool 3D sphere. You can see how it's already added some 3D-ish effects to our image. And you can change a bunch of these settings. You know, you can make it more intense and give it a little bit more like detail and stuff. But if you just use the original settings, it's still going to look pretty good. So say you just loaded up this program, added your image, press save, and used the height maps from that, you'd be pretty happy, I think. So this program has 5 maps here. This is our base image. We're only going to really be needing two from here, right? We're going to need our normals and the occlusion, which is roughness. We're not going to need the displacement or the specularity. So I'm just going to leave all these settings for now. Okay, just know that you can go into like your roughness map and make this a little bit more rough and a little, brighter, etc. A little bit more lights and things. So I'm just going to leave it how it was and press save. So we can save just the occlusion to file. We can press save all textures. I want to save all textures for now, just for the video's sake, and just save them somewhere of your choosing again. I've made a folder called CBumped on my desktop. I'm just going to click that and add them in there. Save. So let me get out of this, and I can now go into my CBumped folder. And you can see this is where all the images went. And we're going to delete this displacement one. I'm going to delete this one because it's a specularity. And you can see down the bottom it says norm, OCC for occlusion, color. We don't need the color one because we already did this before in GIMP already, remember? So we'll just delete that one too. We only really need the normal and the occlusion. So now we can open up GIMP again. We're going to drag those two images straight in. I'll just drag them in. Right. So all we need to do, it's already the right size. We are going to export as, select file type, change it to DDS. I'm going to put this on my desktop and press export. Okay, change this compression to BC5 like the text says for roughness and normals and press export. Okay, now that's done. We'll do the same thing for our occlusion. So we'll press export as, select file type, DDS, desktop for me, export. BC5 is also the case for roughness, so we'll just press export and get out of GIMP. Now we should have our image, our normals, and our roughness. Okay, beautiful. So the next thing that we need to do is find our mod folder. So we'll go into Documents, Trackmania, Skins, Stadium, and Mod. So you're going to need a zip program. So say if you have a zip program, you just highlight all these three, right click and WinZip, for instance, and then just add it to a zip folder. But if you don't have a zip program, just find an existing zip folder on your computer, any one will do, and then just drain its contents and put yours in it. But just note that this zip folder needs at least one item inside the folder when you drain it. If you drain all of it, the whole zip folder disappears. So just make sure something's in it. So I'm just going to delete these three that were already in this. I don't need them. And I'm going to put mine in there instead. Okay. So now just go and locate where those default textures are that you should have downloaded. And we're going to go down and find where the platform tech is. So it's around the bottom, I think. Platform tech, see, you can see _D, we've got our normals, and this is our roughness. So we're just going to go and steal their names. Go copy, and go and put that on our first image. Keep that .dds, and paste the rest. All right, now we're going to do the same for the rest. You can see normals, copy. You can see how it's got _normal already, so you can already know which one to use. And just drain all that. Oops, the long way. Put that in. Last one. Right, so now our mod's all ready. But just while we're here, you can see while we're about to override the platform tech material inside the game. So this will no longer show up inside your map. Every piece that has this material will now be your mod. But just while we're in this default images, I just want to show you a couple of other things. So maybe you want to override a different material. And some of these other materials have more settings to play with. This only has the 3. So we could say maybe find something that has illumination. So like if you look at all these ones, you remember if you inside the game, if you've ever seen these materials before, they're like a see-through glowing light, right? And that's _I. They don't come with any other like base color or _D or have roughness. This is the only layer you're allowed to play with. So like we were in platform tech, you can't make a new one called platform tech _I. This set material only gives you the 3. So maybe you want to make a road that has some like an illumination on it, some more glowy stuff that replicates what this image is doing, right? You could try and find a material, which there are a couple here that have a few more. Like for instance, say this item lamp image. It has _D, has an _H, has an _height. That's a height map. You've got illumination, so you got your glow layer there, the same as that picture we just looked at. This is a luminosity. It's sort of glow as well, similar to glowish. And this is just like a duplicate that I've done at some stage by accident. And then we have our normal map and a roughness. So you can see you've got like 5 different settings here you can play with just with this one material. So I could use this one for our road and change the size and make our own complete image. And then instead of having only 3 of these, we could have used more height maps. We could have used illumination layers and etc. Right? So like I said, read the NADEO importer, get a bit more familiar with things. There's a few more things that make it a bit more complex, but we're just going to try and keep this basic and get it in. So we're all done, right? All we need to do is open up our game again. In my case, it's already open. I've already done this. So hopefully it should just work. So there's a couple of ways to get this mod running. So if you've downloaded OpenPlanet, you should have this top little status bar, and where it says scripts, you can create a new map from here. And you can create a new map. But before I show you that, these are some of the plugins. So this metals window here, if you click on this inside the game, it will show you all the author metals of that map, and there's a checkpoint counter, etc. So this is where your plugins will go. So we're just going to open up a new map. And here we're not going to change our environment. It stays at stadium. We'll leave that at car sport. And here we've got this little mod tab. And this is where your mods will be. Okay. So you just click the mod that we just did, which was in random. But I'm not going to do that just yet. And this is where you can change the size of your map to be bigger than the default map. So maybe you want to build up in the sky. You'd go ahead and change this to some crazy high value so you can build as high as you like. But I'm not going to do that. So I can show you how to open up the mod without OpenPlanet. So go to create map or create map editor. So you need to have a map already made. You can't create a new map with your mod. You have to have like a map already. So you can go into edit map, choose a map, and then you can add the mod to it. So I'm going to just choose this map, and this is how you add your mod. So before you click select map, you have to hold control down, and now click select map. Okay, and this is the little cheeky thing they've added. I don't know, to let you put your mod in. So now it should show up with the menu for the moods. Let me choose my mod, which is in random, and then press OK. Now hopefully the mod should load, because I didn't reload Trackmania. Yep, it's all good. So you can see there's our mod. All right. So if I just go ahead and dive into this bowl over here, you can see already that there's that little bit of 3D-ish effect to the image, and our mod's in the game. And you notice that it was wrapped around all those different ramps that was sharing this material. And that's how you do it. So that's going to be the end of our tutorial today. We've created an object inside of Blender, learned how to import it, and we have also modded, learned how to put our own textures in and give them some depth and some dimension. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.